Yeah, so I'm going to work on the brakes today. These are disc brakes. This is a 65 Mustang GT. I prefer a crossbar myself. Jeez. Somebody put these on. What I want to do is loosen them before I lift up the car and take the weight off the wheels. And then I'll do the same to the other side. So now that I'm getting a little older, I don't trust all this stuff. I want to make sure the jacks are up there. They don't fall down on me. So this is a GT, so it has disc brakes from the factory. Here's the brake hose. Comes into the caliper itself. Here's the bleeder. Here's like a little protection plate. First thing we're going to do is take this little plate off. This is a 7/16. Oh, it comes right off. How lucky. Same thing with that. But you got to understand, this is a California car, so it doesn't have any rust whatsoever. Looks like the brakes don't need anything. Jeez. So we'll see. We'll get a closer look. Alright, we'll take the two caliper bolts off. This is 1/2 inch. Remember, counterclockwise. Okay, there's the lower one. Okay, I'm going to just move this. Here, let me get a screwdriver, and we're going to gently okay, now it's loose enough. Look at that. Look at these brakes, they're brand new. Amazing. Well, there's nothing wrong with the rubbers. The brakes are perfect. I'm not going to do anything else with this. because just by looking at the calipers itself. So all you have to do is take this off, take the brake line off, and this comes out. You can take the, then you can take the wheel off and check the bearings. Maybe we'll just pull that cap off and see what that looks like. But in the meantime, I'm just going to put this back together because this car only has 4,000 miles on it. So I'm going to put these back together. Here I use this brake grease. Put a little bit on here. I'm just putting a little bit on, that's all. That's basically where the pistons ride. You notice everybody's got dogs in my neighborhood. That's that one. Put a little grease on this one. And then slip it in. Remember, pad goes to the other side. There we go. Here's the upper one. And here's the lower one here. Tighten them clockwise. Yes. Okay, so what I'll do now, see, we have crows in the neighborhood too, so anyway, what I'll do is I'll wait for my wife to come home so she can press on the brake pedal so I can bleed it. So, but there's nothing to do, and the rotors are perfect too. There's nothing wrong. Let's take this cap off just for the fun of it. Okay, now that all the dog walkers walked by and aggravated my neighbor's dog, he's got this big German Shepherd. I don't know what he's thinking. But if it ever gets away from him, I hope I'm on vacation. Oh boy, that's full of grease. Okay, pump it a little bit and then hold it all the way down. Okay, good enough. There's no air in them. Okay, so when you look at the rotor here, there's absolutely no ridge, you know, nothing. So that doesn't need to be taken out. I'm not even going to bother. This, to take this off, there's a cotter pin and a nut. You take that nut out, and then you can, after you pull the calipers off, then you just pull that right off. There's a bearing on the back side and a bearing over here. And then to put it back on, you just tighten it as tight as you can, back it off just a little bit, put the cotter pin back on, and away it goes. So this is factory packed from the, well, the bearings are packed from the factory, because this vehicle only has 4,000 miles on it, so I'm not touching this. There it goes. Put the wheel back on and call it a day. So the last thing is just put this little plate back on. Just check, check, check. Okay, we're all set. Now we'll tighten it final once we drop it down. Let's do the other side. Okay, you just got to remember to go in a star pattern so it's all even. So I'm going to take this tire off because I want to look at the brakes. So what I did is I took the emergency brake off because I won't be able to get the drum off if I don't. But I wait to break these loose first. Yes. Now this is what happens when you go have them put on at the tire store. Because they gun them on. Now if you ever got stuck on a road, I don't know how you get this off. Okay. They're loose. Now, let me slide the jack under there and lift it up a little bit. So you just need enough to lift the tire off. And I just hooked it right underneath the center of the leaf spring where it joins the shock. Okay. Now we get this tire off. There it goes. Alright. So here's what we're looking at. Good old drum brakes. Now sometimes they stick, so get a hammer. Don't hit the threads. Just in between. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Okay. Look at the inside. Not scored at all. Just perfect. Let's look at these brakes. These are brand new. They're not worn at all. Look at these clips. And the springs. They're nice and colored. And here's the wheel cylinder. Looks in great shape. Yeah, it just goes to prove that this car doesn't have any miles on it whatsoever. Well, nothing really to do here, so let's put this back on the bottom here. This is where you adjust the brakes to put them out when you're putting them on. There's a little slot in the back. You put a little screwdriver there and they come out. Okay, so I'm just going to put this baby back on. Done. Now we'll put the tire back on. This is an old habit of mine. Whenever I take these off, I don't care what car it is, I put oil on these threads. Because I know one day I may have to take it back off. Alright. Always put it up on the top to make it a little easier. Even though most of the time it is not. And here's the top here. Well, lucky the tires just barely fit. And there we go. Always do a star pattern. Okay? Now let me just let it down. And then I'll tighten it final. Okay, so by doing it by hand, there's no way you can get as tight as these guys that use these air guns at these tire shops, because they really zap them on. But anyway, at least if you get stuck on the road with this one, you'll be able to get it off.